my next project.
Welcome back to another My Next Project. Today we're going to do a limited tools project, and I'm going to show you everything I'm going to use in the video before we get started, and I'm going to tell you what we need for it.
To begin with, I would say it goes without saying that you will need a table saw for this jig. To clear it up, we're going to be making an edge joining jig for my table saw. What I'm going to use for that is going to be these 4 star nuts, these 4 bolts that are 3 inches long, and actually I end up replacing these with 4 bolts that are 4 inches long, 8 1 1/4 inch screws, these 4 drill bits, a drill, and if you have one, an impact driver as well. And this goes without saying that I'm assuming that if you're a woodworker and you're planning on building this, you have things like a tape measure, a square, a hammer, and things like that.
So I only want my jig to be approximately 12 inches wide. So I got this set at 12 inches on my table saw. So I'm going to run this through there and rip it. And I am going to rip off the side that has the band on it. I can tell on the corners that it's not completely flat. Now I've got this lined up where I want to cut it. So what I'm going to do is set up my fence so I can repeat this. Put a spacer in there, like so, and now I'm ready to go ahead and cut the end of this off. So not sure if you guys can see or not, but I have my 4 bolt holes marked here.
These holes are located in the center of the board from left to right, and like I said, every 7 inches is where the hole is. What I'm doing here is using a 7/8 inch Forstner bit to drill down to get the heads of the bolts to fit in below the surface, like a countersink. I tested each of these holes to make sure the bolt would fit in there. Now I'm going back with my small countersink bit and drilling a hole all the way through. This is to help avoid blowout. Now I'm going to flip the board over and drill my 3/8 inch hole all the way through the board. Now I tested it to make sure the bolts would slide in there and that the heads were below the surface. Looks good.
Now we're back at the table saw. We're going to cut this 1.5 inches wide.
Right here I don't do a very good job showing you in the pictures, but what I'm doing is I'm screwing down a runner on the other side, and you'll see what it's for in just a second. I put 8 screws in this. I did not glue it down because this is melamine and I didn't think the glue would work, but I did put 8 screws into it, and I think that'll be more than enough to hold it. That'll be a little runner on the other side, and I'll use it as part of the clamping system when I get this done.
Back at the table saw, I got the first one marked, so I'm going to go ahead and cut my extra piece up into lengths about this long, and then I'll mark those in a minute. And to be honest, as I start marking these, I'm marking on 5 3/4 inches from the edge. I'm putting an X on this side. That means that it's going to go like this when we get it attached here. And completely honest with you guys, none of this stuff has to be that square. This board doesn't need to be square, it just needs to be attached firmly. These boards don't have to be square, they just need to be able to have a hole through them. And the reason why is because my factory edge, which is square with this cut on the table saw, is what's important because we're going to be cutting along this edge every time. Now as I've been going through this, I've been trying to get it as close to square as I can. I'm gonna make these fit a little bit looser, so I'm drilling these with a 1/2 inch instead of a 3/8.
I had these spare pieces of boards from pallets laying around, so I drilled a hole in these, and now I'm going to hammer the T-nuts in it.
The only thing I forgot was some washers. I made these to where the T part is going to go up, so just like that. And now your board should be parallel for 1, 2, and almost 3/8, and 2 and almost 3/8. So we got a straight board, and now it's parallel. So if you want to joint this with another board, then this would work out great. And I actually have a project coming up where I think I'm going to use this. Well, I am going to use it. That's why I built this, to use it. So it'll take care of joining up that stock. So today we made this quick little jig to joint and straighten up edges on mainly plywood pallets for myself. One thing since I've been doing this channel is I've tried to always be honest with you guys and tell you guys where I changed things and stuff like that. So I did make 2 little changes, and actually I'm going to do them right now on camera to make this a little easier for me to use. Is that one is I rounded over the edges that go against the fence. They weren't hidden or anything, but I decided I wanted to round them over just because they would look a little better. And I am going to leave the other end square. It does kind of look weird, but I think I like this square. Next change is I am changing to a 4-inch screw instead of the 3-inch screw I had. And finally, I think I mentioned this in the video, I can't remember. I didn't have any washers. Well, I bought washers to put on there. These will go on top of these where this will screw on. So, and I also got some nuts that'll go on top of the jig to hold the screw up. Because what I found is if I don't want to use tighten down all of these, then the screws will sometimes fall down and hit my table saw. So I'm gonna put these nuts on there to hold them up. And this will let me be able to cut much thicker stock now. And not that I'm cutting real thick stock, but I want to be able to cut almost as deep as my table saw blade will go. Thanks again for watching, and as always, y'all will see me next time.